Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
And welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Good
everyone.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Don Neuen. Let me be the first to welcome you to tonight's absolutely riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio, a very special Thanksgiving holiday episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. Boy, have we got a massive show for you tonight. How you doing, Donna?
I'm doing fine, Don. But
Have you ever noticed that when you speak like I speak on the radio, that it takes extra facial muscles?
You have to, pull like a clown. You have to pull both sides of your mouth up like
no,
this.
what I have to do is I have to enunciate my words and speak with a dialect that my great father taught me. And when I was a youngster, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, Donna, he told me how to speak from my diaphragm.
And then enunciate.
And it comes from the head tone, head. It's coming in from inside the head, moving around inside the head, up in the nasal cavities, up in the cheekbones, and it comes out of my mouth.
It comes out.
Just like that. And there are certain things that you must say if you are enunciating things properly.
Okay.
And I will, throughout this segment of Cowboy Logic Radio, Donna, I will enunciate certain words as I was schooled by my father.
Well, you have to enunciate the back of the word has to have a T.
Well,
or
it depends, Donna.
Yes.
You can't. I mean, this is not some kind of a general thing that's very easy to learn.
When you sing,
I had to hone my skills.
Yes.
My enunciation skills taught by my great father, Don Neuen.
No.
I had to hone these skills over many, many, many decades.
What
Now,
did he say about the T's and the D's? What else?
Well, the first thing that we have to talk about, given the fact that we're coming up onto the Christmas season, is Lord.
Lord. Yes.
You don't
praise the Lord.
You do
praise
not
the Lord.
You do not just D.
You don't?
No. It's got to be Lord.
Lord.
Lord. There's an A on the end of it. And that way, if you enunciate the word Lord in that manner, Donna,
Yes.
the people all the way on the other side of the world that are listening to this radio station and listening to this radio show, those that are in Australia, those that are in New Zealand, those that are in Vietnam, those that are in China, those individuals will understand that I am saying the word Lord.
And that's because your father was was part of the hour of power. And that's where it would have been heard, out to China.
Well,
Australia,
he's been to China before.
and all those other
Here's the
Korea.
deal. We're going to brag a little bit about my dad
Japan.
here very quickly, and then we're going to get on with business.
Yes.
My dad is the greatest living choral conductor on the planet.
The planet.
No, just A. Put an A on the end of it.
Planet.
Planeta.
Okay.
Ta.
But the thing
Say it again, Donna. Planeta.
Planet.
No, T. Ta.
Planet.
There you go.
Okay.
Why are you
there
making that face when you say that?
Because I
Is it
used
painful?
to sing
Does
in
it
a
hurt?
choir too, and that was the thing. You had to cross your T's and your D's.
Well, before we get into anything else, I'm going to tell you one other thing that my dad is famous for.
What?
Being sometimes ambiguous.
He is?
He will be in front of his choir,
Mhm.
and everybody's paying extreme attention to Don Neuen. Okay?
Don Neuen.
Okay? All right.
Okay.
So if they're looking at him, he will say,
Okay.
"Don't look at me. Look at your score. Look at your music." But if they're not looking at him, "Don't look at your music. Look at me."
Look at me.
Now,
I think you ought to
as
get
a
to
child,
don't smack the...
no, we're not going to do that.
We'll
one.
do that? Okay.
As a child,
Yes.
there were times
Mm-hmm.
when that ambiguity
Mm-hmm.
was confusing.
I would say so.
When my dad would say,
"Don't look at me.
Donald,
look at me."
"Don't look at that. Look at me." So I'm looking at him, and I'm scared to death. Okay? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm 5. And then he goes, "Hey, don't look at me. Look at that."
But there was nothing that compares with going to the Crystal Cathedral at Christmas time and seeing their Christmas pageant and your dad presiding over it. That was
I'm
going
to tell you something, ladies
It
and
really
gentlemen.
was special.
As a proud son,
Yeah.
there's absolutely nothing better than to watch my dad work his magic.
Yeah. He really was, and still is phenomenal. I mean, he's retired now, but on occasion he comes out of the woodwork and does his magic in various places. And he will be probably down in, Texas?
Yeah,
for the
he's
wintertime?
got clinics and stuff
He's
coming
got
up.
some clinics coming up.
Anyhow, this is fascinating for all of you people, I am sure.
Well, we have a beloved Cowboy Logic Radio fan from the great state of Oklahoma named Douglas.
Hey, I think you might be over enunciating there, Donna.
Well, I'm going to leave out his last name to protect the innocent because he didn't say whether we could use his whole name or not. But I will say his name is Douglas from Oklahoma. And he recently wrote us to express how much he likes Cowboy Logic Radio.
Man,
Now,
thank you. You know, when you people write us and tell us this kind of stuff, I got to be honest with you. My ego is bloated after
but you know
I
what's
read it.
really cool is he does cutting. And that's one thing I've never tried. I actually
What did I just do, Donna?
No, that's not the cutting I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Cutting horses.
Oh, and we don't mean chopping them up to eat.
No, and this is a fine art because it's a show industry sport now. But back, in the day,
it
they
still
had
is
to cut
done.
the cow. Well, it still is done. They had to cut the cows out of the herd to brand them, and this is a real art.
Or to give them medication or to help,
Exactly.
if
And you know
medical
what I did?
attention.
The first time I ever was exposed to cutting, believe it or not, was
What was that, Donna?
Stop! Not that kind of cutting.
Okay.
All right.
I will stop
Yes, thank you.
now.
It was at Madison Square Garden, believe it or not, with Christine Todd Whitman, the former governor of New Jersey, who was a
What a
commie
name
lib.
drop- name
Yeah, I am
dropper.
like anybody. But
Name
I
dropper.
actually emceed it. They would not let me actually get on a cutting horse that they provided because they wanted to do a cutting horse exposition. Exposition, is that the true word? Exposition, I guess it is. Anyhow, because I didn't actually go to some of the practice sessions ahead of time, and they didn't want me to screw up the horse. But I would not have
Exhibition.
exhibition. Okay.
Exhibition.
Christy Brinkley was there, and she made sure she put her hat over her head so nobody could see what she was doing.
Well, why did she go?
Because she does cutting horses. She actually did it. And
So
she did
why show up if you don't want anybody to see you?
Exact, because she's a high fashion model. She didn't want her face
excuse
taken.
me.
Okay, but Christine Whitman did it.
Did she have a face guard on?
No, she didn't.
Was she wearing a mouthpiece?
No.
Mm,
In
did
fact,
she have a chin
nobody even
strap?
wore helmets back then. I hate to say it. It's probably 15 years
Nobody
ago.
wears helmets now except
well,
English riders.
That's true. And I
They
don't
wear tights.
It's really bad because I don't wear one here at our farm because it's our farm.
You do when
My
you get
rules.
on one particular
One horse. I will.
Yeah.
just to be on the safe side. But anyhow, so I did this at Madison Square Garden, and I got to MC it because I didn't actually go to practice, so they wouldn't let me get on one of the cutting horses. But cutting is basically separating a cow from the herd, and it's become, again, a show industry sport.
You know why they
And
didn't
it's
let you on
phenomenal.
it? You know why they didn't let you on that cutting
Because
horse?
they knew I'd show them all up, especially Christy Brinkley.
No,
because she rode like
I'm
crap.
telling
I'm
you,
sorry.
a cutting horse will turn and spin.
I can stay on.
Yeah.
I can do it.
If you
Let's
wear them
call
little
up
Velcro,
Douglas.
if you wear those little Velcro pants,
I'll tell you what, Douglas, call us back. Hit us on cowboylogic.us. I will go out to Oklahoma, and I guarantee you I can hang on that horse.
Oh, the challenge has been made, Doug.
It's nchacutting.com.
We'll have you go out there, Donna, like in the dead of
That's
cold
National
winter
Cutting
when
Horse
it's like
Association.
4 degrees in Oklahoma.
I can do
and
it.
put you on a cutting horse,
Hey,
and we'll see
I
if your
barrel
little
raced.
115-pound body can stay on that
I barrel
thing.
raced.
It's like a little spider monkey.
No, zip it. I barrel raced in an English saddle because I can't use the damn horn. I'm sorry. I know you probably should with the cutting and barrel racing, but I can't. I have a good enough seat. I can barrel race in an English saddle. Sorry, but
Fascinating, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't have to hold on to the
Actually,
horn.
Donna Fiducia really is a hell of a horse.
Now
rider.
through December 9th in Fort Worth, Texas, the 2018 National Cutting Horse Association World Championship Fraternity, which means younger horses, will be happening at the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum. This is true Americana, really. And it's essential from years ago. But it's going on through December 9th in Fort Worth, Texas. Go for it, gang. It started
It's
back
big
in
money in that, too.
1898.
Cutting
believe
is
it or not.
huge money.
The National Cutting Horse Association was founded in 1946. It was formed by a group of 13 cowboys and ranchers who wanted to promote the competition, standardize rules, and preserve the cutting horse's Western heritage. Then the first NCHA cutting was held in September of 1946 in Dublin, Texas. How cool is that?
You were like 3.
No, I wasn't. I'm old, but I ain't that old.
Okay.
Anyhow, 15,000 people now attend this thing. I mean, it's huge. Demographics compare strongly with other equine sports associated with this luxury lifestyle. I'm sure Bruce Springsteen might pay $3 million for a cutting horse.
I wonder if Jessica
just like he
Springsteen
did-
could stay on a cutting horse.
Oh, she could. Trust me, she can.
With her little Velcro pants?
She's a damn good rider.
With her little, what are they called? Breeches?
Breeches, yes.
Yeah.
Taylor Sportsman breeches.
You look very sexy in a pair of breeches.
Jessica
Yes, you-
Springsteen is a better rider than I am.
Yeah, but
She's
you look very sexy.
25 years old.
Guys?
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't know.
You got to wear jeans if you're a guy. With, with the circle
Except
and
Devin
texture.
Ryan.
Our
buddy Devin Ryan,
while
who's
we're
a
talking about
Batomatic
horses,
rider.
While we're talking about horses, let me congratulate Devin Ryan. My riding coach in New Jersey was part of the World Equestrian Games open jumping gold medal team last month in Tryon, North Carolina. His horse, Eddie Blue, was awarded the Doc Spirit Award at the Washington International Horse Show just a few weekends ago. The Doc Spirit Award is presented to the horse that best exemplifies the heart and athleticism to be competitive at the type of open jumping that he did. But that's Devin Ryan.
And I got to be honest, ladies and gentlemen.
River Run Equestrian Center.
I'm as straight as they come, but
Chester,
Devin does
New
look
Jersey.
good in his breeches.
Yeah, he does.
I got to be honest about
Yeah.
that. He's a
damn
good-looking guy.
And he's a sweetheart.
And he
really
is a sweetheart. But I am not attracted
I
to
bet you-
Devin. I need to qualify that.
I
though.
bet you Devin could ride a cutting horse in an English saddle.
I bet he could too.
Because he can stick on like a...
Like a little spider monkey.
He does. He really does.
Hey,
Can I tell a little story?
if you make it quick, because
Okay.
we've got to go to our affiliate here.
Yes,
we got
we
a
do.
special thing coming up here.
When I was riding with Devin one morning, because when I worked at the Fox News Channel, I worked evenings. So I was one of the few adult amateurs that rode at Devin's farm in the morning, because this way I could get ready and go to work in the afternoon.
All of the rest of the ladies were hung over from the afternoon
they'd
before.
come in the afternoon and just kind of drool over Devin and watch him ride. But no. So he and I would...
So he is good looking.
He is really
Is that what you're
good-looking
saying?
guy. He is.
Would
So-
you say he's a hottie?
Yes, he is. He's
Devin's
very
a
much
hottie?
In fact, I think HGTV was going to try to do something with him, but then it didn't work out.
Okay.
But he was on the short list to do some major television stuff. Anyhow, and he will do it now that he's come into the focus here. But he actually was on a horse that was really, he does stick on. I mean, there's just no way this guy ever falls off, ever. Well, this time the horse really did do something really nasty, and it was a pain in the butt horse that he finally got rid of because it was just a bad seed type of horse. So he did an emergency dismount. He didn't fall off. He jumped off and landed on his feet. And the first thing he did was he turned to me and he goes, "You didn't see that. I didn't fall off."
That's right. Yeah, right, Devin.
It was so
right.
funny.
Everybody falls off, Devin.
But congratulations.
Hey, what was the
World
name of the
Equestrian
big,
Games
huge,
gold medal.
massive horse that was at that farm?
My horse?
No, at that farm. A massive. It was like 19
you know
hands.
What? You're right. I can't remember. What was his name? He was huge. Yeah, he was like 19
It was like
hands.
Ollie or something
Well,
like that.
I had one that was 17, too. That was Nellie Bly.
All right. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen,
Not that
we
that
have
mattered.
got a major treat for you all.
Well, I just want to say congratulations to Douglas. I hope you do well at the cutting horse competition. If
you're not competing,
there.
I hope that
Have
you
fun.
enjoy the brutal winter weather as you are really
Not in
cutting
Fort
cattle.
Worth. not in Fort Worth, Texas. Through
Oklahoma.
December 9th in Fort Worth at the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum.
Well, see, I don't know if he's.
I'd like to try
I don't know if he's a contestant. I don't know if he's
I'd
competing.
like to go out there next
What
year
I
and
do
check
know
this
is
out.
that's what he does all day.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
He does real cutting.
Well, I'll go out there. I'd like to try it.
Okay, I bet you would.
I'd love to try it.
All right, so we got a very special treat, ladies and gentlemen. One of our affiliates out of Cincinnati, Ohio, has got a very special promo going on.
A promo giveaway.
Do you want to set this up, Donna?
Well, it's a turkey giveaway.
Wait a minute. Let me make
promo.
sure I've got them on the air. I've got them on with us.
And now we're going to go to our affiliate, WKRP in Cincinnati, with the big turkey giveaway promo. The morning jock, Johnny Fever, and the newscaster, Les Nesman, giving away these turkeys for Thanksgiving. Johnny, take it away.
All right, fellow babies, and now it's time to go to our live remote man on the scene at the Pinedale Shopping Mall for the big WKRP turkey giveaway. So, take it away, Les Nessman.
This is Les Nesman, your man on the scene here at the Pinedale Shopping Center where the excitement is mounting. We're here to witness the big WKRP Turkey Thanksgiving giveaway.
Hey, you got permission to be out here?
What?
You're blocking my store here, buddy.
Don't you know who I am? I'm Les Nesman. I won the Buckeye News Hawk Award last year.
Good for you, Buckeye. Now get out of my doorway.
I'm sorry. Creep.
So far, so good, huh?
I'm here with hundreds of people who have gathered to witness what has been described as perhaps the greatest turkey event in Thanksgiving Day history. All we know for sure is that in a very few moments there are going to be a lot of happy people out here. Now the crowd is curious but well behaved. And I think I hear something now. The crowd is moving out into the parking area. And oh yes, I can see it now. It's a helicopter, and it's coming this way. It's flying something behind it. I can't quite make it out. It's a large banner, and it says, Happy Thanksgiving from WKRP. What a sight, ladies and gentlemen, what a sight. The copter seems to be circling the parking area now. I guess it's looking for a place to land. No, something just came out of the back of the helicopter. It's a dark object. Perhaps a skydiver plummeting to the earth from only 2,000 feet into the air. Second to the third. There's no parachutes yet. Those can't be skydivers. I can't tell just yet what they are, but... Oh, my God, they're turkeys! Oh, Johnny, can you get this? Oh, they're crashing to the earth right in front of our eyes! One just went through the windshield of a parked car! This is terrible. The cars running around, pushing each other? Oh, my goodness! Oh, the humanity! People are running about. The turkeys are hitting the ground like sacks of wet cement. I don't know how much longer the crowd is running for their lives. I think I'm going to step inside. I can't stay out here and watch this any longer. No, I can't go in there. Children are searching for their mothers, and not since the Hindenburg tragedy has there been anything like this. I don't know how much longer I can hold my position here, Johnny. The crowd...
Les, are you there? Les isn't there. Thanks for that on-the-spot report, Les.
All right, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Les. Man, what a tragedy it sounds like took place up
They're
there,
hitting
Donna.
the parking lot like sacks of wet cement. Turkeys can fly, but they can't fly from 2,000 feet. Sorry. It just
No,
does
they
not
have to
work.
run and take off, and then they fly.
That is a classic WKRP in Cincinnati episode. It's too damn funny. It's
Well, and
so
ladies
damn
and gentlemen, if you want to watch WKRP, we found it
funny. Millennials won't know
on
about
Me
this,
TV.
but they should find it. Me TV.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
millennials
just
will
great.
have no idea what we're talking about. That segment, ladies and gentlemen, was for all of you old people.
Yes. And you know what? WKRP in Cincinnati was fashioned after WNEW-FM, the radio station that
Yep.
I got my start at in New York City. If
Which
you
of the
look-
characters was you?
the
on-
dark hair girl that worked in the office?
Yeah.
That definitely was me. There's no doubt about it. I'm sorry.
And who was Johnny?
Johnny was Dave Herman,
Okay. And what
Morning
about
Jock.
Les Nessman?
Andy Fisher. the newscaster. If you look at Andy Fisher, it is Les Nessman. I'm sorry.
Do they look alike?
They look alike.
Really?
And Johnny Fever looked like Dave Herman.
What about the one with the big gazongas?
Well,
Lonnie Anderson. Who was she?
That would probably be Carol Miller, who was actually one of the DJs, and she still is on Sirius XM radio. Wonderful woman.
Do your imitation of her.
That's Allison Steele. You're thinking
Oh, okay.
of.
Do Allison Steele.
Has gone on to the great radio station in the sky, but Allison used to get on and she'd go like, "Good night." That's how she'd end her show every night.
Wow.
And she just was very breathy, had a beautiful breathy voice. Carol Miller is just wonderful as well. And I haven't talked to her in years.
What
but
about
she's just a great
the
person.
black guy? Did you have a black guy at WNEW?
Well, actually, we did have. He went on to WCBS Radio.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about.
I mean, CBS TV. What am I?
Al Roker.
No, that's not. God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name, and I worked with him for years.
Let's see here. Jesse Jackson.
No, it wasn't Jesse Jackson.
Al Sharpton.
But the big thing is that every single person there basically looked and acted exactly like WKRP in Cincinnati. They fashioned it after WNEW-FM. There's no doubt about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we go into
Mark
this...
McEwen.
I
finally remembered Mark
All right,
McEwen.
I'm glad. Thank you.
God, sorry, Mark.
As we go into Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen, Donna and I would like to express our thanks to you, our beloved listeners. We do this for you. We have successfully gone through nearly 6 years of Cowboy Logic Radio without taking a penny in advertising or sponsorship. And do you know why we do that? We do that so that our content is not directed by any advertiser. We can talk to you people about what we want to talk about, and there's nobody looking over our shoulder saying, don't talk about this, don't do that, you need to stick within this because they're paying us. So there's only one reason that we do this, and that is for you. And we're thankful that you allow us into your world, into your valuable time for 2 hours once a week. We thank you.
Absolutely. And we do thank you, and we want to wish everybody a very blessed Thanksgiving. This is one holiday that everybody can really relate to, of all religions and all nationalities, because we are thankful for you being out there. We've got Michael Cutler coming up talking about immigration after the break. Then Rick Tillman, the chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party, talking about the mess here in Georgia. See if we can ever figure this one out. And Charles Ortel, the latest on the Clinton Foundation. It's all coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP. Got kind of tired of packing and unpacking, town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be. Just maybe think of me once in a while. I'm at WKRP in Cincinnati.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don NEUEN. And for this next half hour, Don is shaking his head because he's trying very hard not to blurt out
I'm
his
behaving.
name. You are behaving.
We've got an authority. We have a subject matter expert. We've got the top of the crop here.
Yeah, but he can't do the interview unless you blurt your name out first.
Yes, he can.
Okay.
He's a professional.
I know, but the thing is, he's so used to hearing you blurt your name out that it can't function unless you do that.
So this is like a guy. You're likening this to baseball, in which a pitcher comes in. He consistently throws between 98 and maybe 100 miles an hour, 95 and 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, here's a 70 mile an hour.
You got to throw the
curveball.
wild pitch once in a while, yes, or the sinker ball or whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Don NEUEN, and let me be the first to welcome you back to this riveting segment of Cowboy Logic Radio. Boy, have we got a stellar guest for you. Back to you, Donna.
Yes, that aforementioned guest is one Michael Cutler. 30-plus years distinguished career with the Drug Enforcement Task Force, I can talk, INS, and testified before Congress in the 9/11 Commission. You've seen him on all the major news channels, most recently on NRA-TV, One America News with Graham Ledger, Newsmax, CNN, Fox, and also you can read his work at michaelcutler.net. You can read him in The Social Contract, David Horowitz Freedom Center, that's frontpagemag.com, a wonderful website, folks. And last but not least...
And...
What?
You can listen to his radio show, The Michael Cutler Hour, on whatever radio station or whatever internet radio station that you are listening to this show on right now.
I was just
the
about
Michael
to
Cutler
say
Hour.
that.
But I did it.
Last but not least,
Donna.
host of the Michael Cutler Hour right here on our radio network.
But I said that with style.
Yes, okay, fine.
And grace.
And Mike, welcome back to Cowboy Logic
How you doing,
Radio.
buddy?
I'm doing okay.
I don't think he could.
What
even Mike.
what a sideways beginning to the segment.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you this. Can Graham Ledger even compete with that kind of an intro? No is the answer.
Probably. Now, the better question is, what do you want?
Oh, man. Hey, listen, I can dump this call pretty quickly here.
Let's get right to business here. I want to start with Kamala Harris. What an embarrassment. Equating ISIS to Hitler and the Nazis, and then saying to the guy who is, being interviewed.
ISIS or ICE agent? You just said ISIS.
I meant, sorry, ICE, not ISIS.
That would be a fair comparison. Okay?
Boy, is that a Freudian slip? ICE,
that was
yes.
Freudian, absolutely.
So she's sitting there talking to this guy who wants to be the new ICE.
She compared ICE agents with
To
the
Nazis.
KKK.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And
I
it was
stand corrected.
not embarrassing. It was an absolute damn disgrace. And Mike, I want to get your take on it because you had to be offended.
And she kept saying the perception.
I'm outraged. I'm outraged beyond words. But this isn't a new tactic. The governor of New York State, the state that gets the greatest amount of counterterrorism funding because New York City was basically the primary target on 9/11. The majority of casualties and destruction was wrought on New York City, on a place 10 miles from my house. And so the governor of the state of New York that keeps on talking about the war on terror, and we're going to keep you safe, and impose all kinds of restrictions on firearms, and you name it, and we're going to crack down, is the guy who refers to ICE agents as goons and says that he wants them prosecuted and promised to dispatch his attorneys, the state's attorneys, to any location where ICE agents show up to make arrests, to make certain that if they don't dot every I and cross every T, he will seek to have them arrested and prosecuted.
Well, they
Let's be clear about something. Let me make a point here. The immigration laws are absolutely, totally, utterly, and completely blind about race, religion, ethnicity. If you go to Title 8, United States Code, Section 1182, and that's really a very important section of law because it contains so many important elements. Number one, it establishes the aliens who are to be denied entry into the United States. And yes, I use the word aliens, and nobody should faint because legally the term alien simply means any person not a citizen or national of the United States. This name game, just like we're being told about the caravan of migrants, this is not political correctness, folks. This is purely out of George Orwell. Thought control through language control. As humans, we think with words. When you can limit the words or eradicate words, you eliminate the thoughts the words represent. Okay? So understand that first and foremost, that body of law that's part of the Immigration Act says the following categories of aliens, non-citizens, are not to be admitted into the United States. Aliens who have dangerous communicable diseases or suffer severe mental illness. Aliens who are criminals, murderers, arsonists, human traffickers, drug smugglers, gun runners, murderers, robbers. They're to be excluded. Aliens who are terrorists, spies, human rights violators, war criminals, fugitives from justice, aliens who've been previously deported, or aliens who violated their immigration status and committed fraud in the United States are to be excluded. And then we get to aliens who are likely to become a public charge, or aliens who have no authority to work, but if they did work, would displace American workers and or drive down wages and working conditions for those people similarly employed who were lawfully employed in the United States. That's it. How could anyone take issue with it? The answer is they couldn't. So a fantasy has been created, and it starts with the pollsters, and it's both political parties, because let's remember, first and foremost, it wasn't the Democrats, but the Republicans that wanted to flood America with millions of cheap, exploitable foreign workers at all levels. At all levels. So we're talking not just about the illegals who do the physically dangerous, demanding, tough work, but the computer programmers. Let's have more H-1B visas. Let's get as many Americans fired as possible so we can drive down their wages and working conditions. And then the Democrats lost their minds because they used to be the party of working Americans. That's why I registered as a Democrat many, many years ago. They jumped on the bandwagon and are trying to now outdo the Republicans on destroying the middle class of the United States, the wage structure for all workers, flood America with people who will more likely vote for their candidates than vote for Republican candidates. So instead of winning elections fair and square, forget about this notion of it's not whether you win or lose, but how you play the game. For the Democrats, it's all about it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win. So right now, when we go to vote, most of the time as Americans, you go into the voting booth, you have two choices. It's a coin toss. Tails, we lose. Heads, they win. And the Republicans, incredibly, refuse to fund the campaigns of a number of extremely wonderful candidates who are Republicans, people like Lou Barletta, people like Seth Grossman in New Jersey for Congress. They starved them of campaign funding. The only conclusion that I could come to is that the Republicans have become globalists, the Democrats have become globalists, and the only one who stands between their corrupt desire to take down America's borders is Donald J. Trump. And that is why you're seeing the level of animosity that he is experiencing, because incredibly, he is the first president, perhaps since Kennedy or Eisenhower, who understands sovereignty and the significance of secure borders.
I agree with you. Michael Cutler, there is, and I need for you to explain this to our valued listeners. There is a policy, a law, that these people that are coming from Central American countries, it's like the first country law. The first free country that they can get to if they're seeking asylum is where they're supposed to go. Why is that being ignored?
Well, you're supposed to enter, America's supposed to enter into an agreement that if they're trying to get into America, then Mexico is supposed to agree that they'll give them asylum. But Mexico's been trying to give them asylum, supposedly, but I don't buy it. I'll tell you why I don't buy it. If you've been to Mexico, and I have, nobody cares much about civil rights in Mexico, okay? The government decides what it wants to do, and it does it. To have caravans of thousands of people and trucks and buses streaming up from the Guatemala border directly to the United States, these are people who entered Mexico illegally. For them to not only tolerate it, but I've seen videos of the police giving them escorts to help them make their way up the length of Mexico to the U.S. border, tells me that Mexico is anything but a friend of the United States. And by the way, the backdrop for our conversation today has to be, and I want to get to the caravan because the point you make is extremely important. And by the way, I'm Jewish. My family was decimated in the Holocaust. I've always been a fan of political asylum when it's legitimate and when we can vet the people. This is not legitimate political asylum. Most of the people, the great majority that apply for asylum when they get to America, disappear. They say political asylum, kind of like at the speakeasies during Prohibition. You know, you knock 3 times on the door. You say, Harry sent me, and they let you in. So now you knock 3 times, you say political asylum, they let you in, and they don't pursue their political asylum application because it's bogus. And by the way, asylum is supposed to be given to aliens who have a credible fear of persecution because of race, religion, ethnicity, political views.
If that
These
were the
people
case,
are coming
we
up and
should
they're being
have
interviewed. Many of them are prior deportees.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are saying, I want a job in America. And there have been congressional hearings about how Iran has been working closely with the drug cartels in Latin America through Hezbollah to bring huge quantities of narcotics and people into the United States.
And the thing is, but this goes back to Barack Obama. Nobody talks about this stuff. If the true political asylum you just talked about, if that were the case, we'd have half of the white people from South Africa coming in here right now. Nobody.
Well, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I want to stay on target because I don't want to talk about Obama today. He's history. I don't care. Let's face the issues that we're looking at, Donna. I don't care about Obama. He set the stage for this catastrophe, following up on the disaster that George W. Bush, Republican, created for this country by decimating immigration law enforcement by absolute design. It was George W. Bush who prosecuted 2 Border Patrol agents, Ramos and Compion, who put their lives on the line on the border. And one of them was put in solitary confinement. If you did it to a terrorist, the ACLU would have had a stroke.
Yep.
This guy was beaten to within an inch of his life, and instead of putting him into some administrative confinement, they put him in solitary. So don't get me going on prior President crooks, okay? Both sides are corrupt,
no, I
period.
agree with that. I agree.
But I don't want to get distracted. We have limited time, and we need to get to this issue. Because the backdrop of everything happening with the border that the Republicans, every damn much as the Democrats, refuse to secure, is that right now there is a trial ongoing in the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn, my hometown, of an individual by the name of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. He is charged with moving over 200 tons of cocaine into the United States. 200 tons. He is charged with bringing in heroin and methamphetamines, okay? And where did it happen? Well, the drug trade brought it right to New York's doorstep. And why would you, as Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the alleged leader of the Sinaloa most violent and sophisticated drug cartel, make New York City the hub? New York has the largest, most sophisticated, well-trained, and well-equipped police department, arguably in the world, certainly in the United States. You would think it's the last place a drug dealer would want to set up shop. I would argue there's 2 factors. First of all, as border states go, New York hits the trifecta. We share the border with Canada, we have many international airports, and we have seaports. So that's a big deal. We have a lot of transportation infrastructure. But the biggest issue is that New York is a sanctuary city. The police are prohibited from calling immigration even when someone is committing serious crimes. They're not allowed. And this goes back to Ed Koch, a mayor who I like, but this mistaken notion that it's heroic to enable terrorists, murderers, and sex offenders to embed themselves in your communities is insanity on a scale that I cannot fathom. So you have told people from around the world, come to New York, we will shield you from the evil KKK-like ICE agents, the thugs, as Cuomo calls them. Look, the immigration laws are our first and last line of defense against terrorists, transnational criminals, and enemy combatants. What most people don't know, and the media won't tell you, is that the second largest contingent of federal agents assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force are immigration agents. My very first fraud investigation, way back, I hate to tell you, 1976, it was supposed to be an insignificant case. You know, I wasn't even an agent for a year at the time. You know, what do you give a brand new guy to do? Minor stuff. We had an Israeli with an altered passport. Long story short, the visa was altered. This guy was with the PLO. He was coming to New York to get the money to help to fund a bombing of an oil refinery in Israel. We prevented the attack, and from that day on, I had a wonderful working relationship with the Israeli National Police. But understand that each and every alien who comes to America and participates in terror attacks violates our immigration laws. You know, we certainly would not want to get on an airplane if we saw 10 well-built young men sneak past TSA and hop on the airplane. There's no way you'd get on the plane. Why are Americans being forced to live with millions of foreign nationals who snuck past the vetting process conducted at ports of entry? And we're being told that if you don't agree with living with people who trespassed on America, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you deserve a window seat in Hillary's basket of deplorables. This is the most insane set of circumstances I could ever imagine. And again, you have witnesses from both the Democratic and Republican parties who go before Congress. And if you go to my articles at front page, I've been writing extensively about what's going on with those hearings. They're talking about how Iran, through Hezbollah, a terrorist organization, funded, trained, equipped, and so forth by Iran, along with Hamas and the Quds forces that are flying directly into Caracas, Venezuela, are sending people into the United States, including sleeper agents.
Mike,
a number of Iranian sleeper agents have been arrested in the United States. This isn't just conjecture.
Wow. Let me reintroduce you here. We're talking with Michael Cutler. He has 30 years of distinguished career with the Drug Enforcement Task Force, INS. He testified before Congress for the 9/11 Commission. Read all of his stuff. Well, really, he writes for Front Page Mag, which I love, frontpagemag.com, and michaelcutler.net. But you've seen him on all of the big TV shows, and obviously he hosts the Michael Cutler Hour right here on our radio network. Don had a question.
Mike, I want to bring a point up, and I want to ask you to address something for our listeners.
Absolutely.
You know, I listen to your radio show often. You've been a frequent guest on Cowboy Logic Radio. I think it's safe to say that the topic in which you discuss, A, you are, in my opinion, the subject matter expert for that, and B, it is extremely convoluted and multifaceted of a problem. So if you were to take this collective group of the Cowboy Logic Radio listeners and advise them on what they can do, how can they be proactive, what calls can they make, and what can that call contain content-wise to their elected officials, how do you advise them as to how to solve this terrible and convoluted problem?
Well, first of all, get involved with your politicians. Not just election day. That's ridiculous. You need to be involved. You know, you don't just see your boss when he gives you your evaluation every 6 months or every year or whatever the arrangement is at your place of work. Your boss gives you guidance on a constant basis. You know, Thanksgiving is coming, and we still, with all of our problems as Americans, have much to be thankful for. Let's not lose sight of that. So first, let me wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you get together with your families and really have a joyous celebration. But just as when we go into a restaurant, we're very specific about the food that we want to eat and the way that we want it prepared, we need to be no less specific with the elected representatives. The problem is the elected representatives know how to game the American people. I compare them to magicians who promise to cut the lady in half. Now, we all know that if they really cut the lady in half, they're going to jail. No one's ever going to work with them again. So the magician has to create a convincing illusion as a matter of entertainment that he cut the woman in half, and then at the end of the performance, she bounces up on the stage and everybody claps and everyone's happy. Politicians know that reasonable, rational Americans want to see our borders enforced, our borders made secure, our immigration laws enforced. Again, it's not about race or religion. This notion of Latino voters, by the way, by the pollsters, is an example not only of stupidity, but racism. As Americans, I don't care what your race, religion, or ethnicity is, we all want the military to keep our enemies as far from our shores as possible, the police to keep the streets safe, and the schools to educate our children. Failures of immigration undermine all three. Number one, immigration, we're talking now about having the military back up the Border Patrol. Here's something to think about. Immigration law enforcement actually backs up the military. The primary mission of all five branches of the military is to keep our enemies as far from us as possible. Today, in asymmetrical warfare, which is what terrorism is, the enemy combatants aren't coming in U-boats as did the Nazi dirtbags during the Second World War. They're coming on airliners, they're running our borders, and they're stowing away on ships. The agencies that are responsible for dealing with that threat are all under DHS, an agency that has been so screwed up that I came to call the Department of Homeland Surrender. We have about 6,000 ICE agents for the whole country, and because of George W. Bush, more than half of their work has nothing to do with immigration. They're going after people who manufacture counterfeit Gucci loafers, kiddie porn, money laundering, you name the crimes. They are being distracted from the primary mission of securing borders and enforcing immigration laws and going after immigration fraud. In fact, I wrote an article for the Social Contract that was called Immigration Fraud, the Lies That Kill, because that was the primary method of entry and embedding for the terrorists, not only on 9/11, but repeatedly, and we've seen it since then, for example, the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston who carried out the marathon attack, falsely claiming political asylum, and they went back to Russia. So you need the immigration agents, and you need to let the politicians understand we're on to them. Because what's happening now, I mean, look at Bob Goodlatte. Here's the guy who's chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He's a Republican. I met with him. He told me he was an immigration lawyer. He's leaving Congress in January. I am sure he'll go back to practice immigration law. His son, Bobby Goodlatte, is a major player in the computer industry who Goodlatte told me got his start with Zuckerberg at Facebook. And he told me how his son would love to have thousands of Indian programmers come to America. I said, why wouldn't you want Americans to take those jobs? My late wife, may she rest in peace, was a brilliant programmer, Phi Beta Kappa graduate, and MBA in computer science. Why are you undercutting American computer programmers? He had no answer. So now we're being told that the solution is mandatory E-Verify. This is another lie that's being told, this time by Goodlatte. By itself, it won't work, okay? You need to hire agents to enforce the laws that are on the books, and they never look to hire one more agent. You have 3,000 ICE agents for all of America. New York has 37 or 38,000 police officers. We have over 1 million members of the armed forces. We have 45,000 people at TSA. Think about that. You have 3,000 ICE agents enforcing immigration law for the entire country. See, mandatory E-Verify is very important, and I agree with it. But all that an unscrupulous employer has to do to get past mandatory E-Verify is to have two sets of books. One set, the people who are here legally, you use mandatory E-Verify on paper, they look squeaky clean. But in reality, while they're reporting that they have 42 workers, they have 412 people on the factory floor who are here illegally working under the table.
Mike, what you said
before. So you won't know about it without the agents. You see the game that's being played. Folks, you've got to stay up with your information, and you need to confront the politicians when they lie to you.
What's so
You
scary?
need to go to town hall meetings, and you need to videotape the responses. And if you have an elected representative who won't go to a town hall meeting, fire them, because they are not willing to meet with their employer, because you are their employer.
Yeah, but the thing is, they think that their you-know-what doesn't stink now. They think they're above us. What you said was very disconcerting. First of all, eliminating the middle class. And with sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, to me, when you've got New York and California now, so much in that divide, they want this civil unrest. The big guy, I mean, like you say, it's a one world order, folks, against Donald Trump, essentially, because the left and the right doesn't like Trump.
No, against Americans.
And Americans, exactly. So that's why they attack Trump when he said patriotism or Americanism, and they say, oh, no, that's, you can't
He used the word
that.
nationalism, which simply means devotion to country. They added the word white nationalism, which is not what he said.
No, and if you look it up in a regular dictionary, nationalism, patriotism, that's all the same. You look it up on
They're
Google
interchangeable.
now.
Yes, they don't want patriot. They would rather that people be more patriotic to their hometown football team than they be to the flag of the United States of America.
But see, most people
And by the way,
Google
speaking of flags, how many foreign flags are in that caravan?
Yeah, I don't see any American flags in that caravan. But
No, absolutely not.
When people Google things right now, if you Google nationalism, then they actually talk about this Nazism stuff, like they're doing with Donald Trump, because Google has such a leftist attitude. They're actually really skewing the.
Let me tell you how left Google is.
All right, hold on, Mike. Hold on, Mike.
I got 1 minute.
Hold on, Donna. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Don NEUEN. I am the timekeeper here. We do have a hard out at 1 minute and 9 seconds. Back to you, Mike.
China is working with Google. Google has agreed to help censor the material that's available to Chinese citizens and rat Chinese citizens out to the communist totalitarian government of China when the citizens of China make searches on the Google search engine.
I know.
And they are similarly looking to impose restrictions and censorship on Americans, and nobody invited them in and nobody elected them.
Absolutely. Michael Cutler, it always goes so fast. Again, folks, read him at michaelcutler.net. Also, The Social Contract. David Horowitz's Freedom Center, that's frontpagemag.com. That's an awesome website. You've seen him on One American News with Graham Ledger and really all the news channels most recently. And, of course, he testified before Congress for the 9/11 Commission, 30-plus years with the INS. Michael, as usual, thank you for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio, and we will look for your show.
Thank you for having me. Remember, democracy is not a spectator sport.
Absolutely. We'll look for your show, too, the Michael Cutler Hour on our radio network. And coming up, we'll be talking about the Georgia election with Rick Tillman, chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party, and Charles Ortel with the latest on the Clinton Foundation. It's all coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
But if you keep a call line, that's your right. We must see our own past, shaded away.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen, and this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest for this half hour is making his Cowboy Logic debut.
And I'm going to behave. You know why I'm going to behave, Donna?
Why?
Because this is the big kahuna in Carroll County.
Yeah, but you know him, so you don't have to
I do know
behave.
him, but I also have to, just like Jim Acosta must have
Decorum.
in the White House, I need to behave.
Are you serious? We're talking about Rick Tillman here.
I still need to behave.
Okay.
It's the position. It's the office that I have to respect here.
That's true. He is.
Rick and I are friends on a friend level, but when it comes to the office, I must behave.
Okay.
If not, people like Steve Braddock are going to come down on me heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Rick is an eye doctor. Huh? Hold on one sec. Let me introduce
Well,
you.
just tell my wife I'm a big kahuna, please.
Okay. Well,
No
it's her
problem,
birthday.
Rick.
It's her birthday, so you're not a big kahuna
Yeah.
today. So that's one thing. And happy birthday to your lovely wife. Rick is
What
an
the
eye
hell
doctor.
is a kahuna?
Kahuna's the big cheese. Like Donald Trump is, but like what's his face from CNN won't respect.
But is there actually a kahuna?
There might
or is
be.
it just a word?
I think it's just a word. The big
so
cheese.
There
the
is
big
no
kahuna.
tangible. Rick, do you know anything about kahunas?
Okay, I was not prepared for that question.
All right, back to you, Donna. Back to you, Donna. That's anytime you're not prepared for a question, just say back to you, Donna.
Full disclosure here.
That's
Rick
done.
Tillman obviously is a friend of ours. He's an eye doctor here in Carrollton, but he is also the chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party, serving in your third term, in fact. So, Rick,
Third term.
let's get right down to this. I heard you on WLBB, our affiliate here in Carrollton, a couple days ago, talking about voting irregularities. This seems to be the thing for the Democrats. Count every vote. I say no. Count every legal vote. There's a huge difference.
Right. I think this is going to be the new norm. In 2020, the Republicans and Libertarians and everybody except Democrats better get ready because the Democrats this was a warm up for what they're going to try in 2020.
I agree.
But yeah, what they were trying to, let's say in the Atlanta area, I had talked to somebody at the state, and people would go to their county where they had their precinct and vote, but then they would go over to, let's say, from Fulton to Cobb and vote again. And the nice people which we're going to have to get tougher with the people at this working polls. They work, hard, and they try to do the right thing. But they gave them a provisional ballot, and then when the provisional ballots were counted, they kicked them out. Well, the Democrats not only wanted to have every vote count, they want every vote as many times as it was voted count. So you can't vote 2 or 3 times a different count.
Vote early and vote often.
Yeah, but Rick,
Often, yeah.
listen, I'm a simple kind of guy here, and that is illegal. Why is there any question about this? And how can any of these Democrats, starting with Stacey Abrams, look at anybody in the face with any level of integrity and seriousness and expect to be taken seriously? I mean, I vote in the Rupeville district. That's my little district where I go vote. And it used to be a church that was actually smaller than the radio studio that we're in right now. But now I go to, what's it called? Rupeville Road
Rupeville
Baptist?
Road. Big church.
It's a big church. We go into one
Beautiful
of their
church.
activity buildings. The thing is, when I walk in there, I recognize the people from voting here for 13 years.
Yeah.
But they still, even though hey, how you doing, Don? They still expect me to provide my ID.
Photo ID.
Yeah, photo ID. They check me off of a list. And despite the fact that these people recognize me and we sit around and talk, they vet me and they verify that I am in fact who I am and that I'm on their voter list. And then I go vote and I get my sticker and I'm happy. But how is this happening and people are not being held accountable legally in Georgia, but also this
Florida
laughable situation that's taking place in Florida, the situation that's taking place in Arizona? I mean, I agree with you 100%. They are testing the waters to see how far they can push this for 2020, and the new phrase needs to be the Democrats and the left refuse to lose.
Right. Well, it started, I think, also 10 years ago with President Obama, who I believe has reversed race relations 50 years. So there, I said it. And so it's just gotten worse and worse. And the Democrats just the Democrat Party now. There's Democrats are like anybody. There's good Democrats, bad Democrats, good Republicans, bad Republicans. But they they start thinking, how can they win with Kavanaugh? That was a disgrace to try to his family, to put his family through it. He's a good person, but they will do whatever they can to win. You don't have to have money to have a little bit of class, but they went from just being wacky to I'm talking about the party, especially the National Party, who tells everybody else what to do, every Democrat, and also the media, like the regular, the big outlets, NBC and them, tell them what to do. They give them their marching orders. So they just do what they say. I would never vote. I occasionally would vote for Agricultural Commissioner, Democrat. I wouldn't touch because every one of them has marching orders from up above, and they will do whatever they can to get power.
You mentioned Ag Commissioner, and I want to talk about that a little bit. That did flip in Florida. The Ag Commissioner said, I went to bed, and he's a Republican, I went to bed, I was, 50,000 votes up. I wake up, and all of a sudden I lost. Now, this is huge, Rick Tillman, because in Florida, and I'm not sure if that's the case here in Georgia, but I assume it might be, in Florida, the Ag Commissioner was given the job of dispersing gun permits. So this is an attempt to squelch the Second Amendment. And so far, I don't believe that's been flipped. I believe the Ag Commissioner in Florida is a Democrat, and that's huge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, the Second Amendment, the Constitution, don't try to come take my gun, as what Charleston Heston said, to take it from my cold dead hand. No, forget that. The Constitution, but yeah, they will try to, and they'll do anything. I just don't know. Where was it? Let's work together. I can work with anybody, even if we disagree. Let's come to Reagan. Come to, you get a percentage of what you want, but they want everything, every time. It's like little brats.
Their ways, or else they have their little snowflake moments.
Well, I need to interject something about this Florida Ag Commissioner. First of all, everybody needs to know that this man doesn't have the power to take away or to change Florida's Second Amendment law.
But to disperse future ones,
But what he can do, and very well may do, is slow down the process for people that are wanting to get permits. And he can do that legally. He can do it through, bureaucracy problems. But the bottom line is that he can make it more difficult and slow down the process. But we don't have to worry about this schmuck taken away.
No, I understand that, but I
rights.
also know that's happening around the country because now they're saying, well, if you come back from Iraq or Afghanistan, you've got PTSD, you can't have a gun. I mean, they're trying, if medical marijuana, you partake in medical marijuana, they're saying you can't have a gun permit. This is how they squelch it down so much so that eventually, I mean, I know out in California, our good friend who's a former chairman of the California Republican Party, Tom Del Beccaro, who ran against Kamala Harris, by the way, for Senate. And if California did have a decent voting, if they allowed a Democrat and a Republican on the ballot, he had a good shot to win. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Still, he had a huge high-profile job that he was running for, and he couldn't even get a gun permit. I mean, this is insane, and this is how they don't take it away, but in little bits and pieces they erode our
chip
rights.
it away.
Well,
chip away.
You know, more troubling than this AG down in Florida is this numbnut congressman from California, Eric Swalwell. Now, this past week, I think it was Friday when this came out, he made some comments on Twitter that you know, has drawn attention to his anti-Second Amendment position. Now, this guy is allegedly going to run for president. Whether he makes it or not, even through the primaries, is going to be very questionable. But here's the point that I want to bring up while we're on this Second Amendment discussion. He is proposing purchasing back any, and he uses the term incorrectly, assault rifles. And he's proposing that the government buy back these guns. Give somebody $1,000 and they'll turn in their assault rifle. Well, let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that the same type of a thing happened in Cuba, and it happened in South Africa.
Actually happened in New York when I was there, too.
But I'm talking about countries that are figuring out creative ways to dupe their citizens into relinquishing their weapons.
Nazi Germany. I mean, this is scary stuff.
So, let's call a spade, and Swalwell aligns himself with the ideology of Cuba and of South Africa. It's that simple. Back to you both, and I'll get off the Second Amendment tirade.
We're talking with Dr. Rick Tillman. He's an eye doctor here in Carrollton, a friend of ours and chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party. So Rick, I got this cataract. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me ask you.
Let me write down. I've got my appointment book right here.
Okay. 2016. Well, let's say, like you say, this is a warm-up for 2020, and I agree. But back in 2000, when I was at the Fox News Channel, I was there when the Bush v. Gore garbage started. In fact, I was the first one on the air to start reporting it.
With the hanging Chad Everetts?
Hanging Chads and the guy with the... Well,
they were hanging Chad Everetts.
I wonder if that guy had cataracts, too, because you see when he's taking his glasses off his nose and trying to see whether there's a Chad there or not, and this kind of thing.
I saw that in the paper. They needed some new glasses.
But you know what? They also... really... That's
they need to come see Rick Tillman.
But the thing is, I also reported a lot of times during the Iraq War about how after the first couple of years, Iraqi women were able to vote. And this was a huge plus for, and I thought, this makes it worthwhile for our guys that are shedding their blood over there and women too. But what they did was when they went in to vote, they had to put their finger on this die. So they showed that they voted, and they'd stand there with a picture with their index finger sticking up with a big blue tip on the end of their finger. Well, that doesn't wash off for a few days. I'm thinking maybe that's what we ought to do here. When you go to vote, you stick your finger in this die. The only thing is, if you've got early voting, it could wear off after a week or so.
We need to get rid of early voting.
But that's the thing. The early voting, all it does...
Can we make it red instead of blue?
Exactly.
Really.
Hey, Rick, let's bring things back locally here for a minute. What did you see any problems in Carroll County with regard to the integrity of voters?
And about provisional voting, way back when my son, he's the Frederick Tillman II. The first time they I don't know what the deal was, but they said I'd already voted, so I did a provisional ballot. Well, it was my son voting for that first time. They got it straightened out, but but no, it's, they know me, and my wife was trying to harass me in line to vote, and I was trying to get them to kick her out. That's a joke. But they work hard, and they bend over backwards to be fair. So I saw no problem.
At all of the precincts, all of the precincts in Carroll County, as far as you know, were handled above board and with integrity. Correct?
Yeah, and if and it's hard to get volunteers to be at every precinct, but if they get poll watchers everywhere, but I don't, I think they try to bend over backwards to be nice, as far as, if you don't put your birth date, you should be kicked out. At the last county convention, I was chastised because I said, if you don't fill out the form right, we're not going to track you down for 2 days because we may know you, but you got to fill the form out. If you can't fill the form out properly, then, forget it. So, and there was very few provisional. A lot of them were kicked out because they were college students. It's like if I go through a stop sign, the police is not going to not give me a ticket because, I didn't know that was a law that you had to stop the stop sign. Read the rules. You go to where your county of residence. If you're college student and you want to vote in Carrollton, then change your residency. But the rules, if we got to go by the rules. If we want to change the rules, fine, the legislature. But if you got the rules, you got to go by the rules.
See, that's what gets me, because if you fill this wrong and you're filling out, say, a tax form, you're
pay.
In jail.
Yeah.
You're in jail or you're paying. Okay, so why should we give them the benefit of the doubt?
Somebody ran for governor that owes back taxes, but I don't think he's in jail.
That's true.
Anyway.
All right, so hold on just a second. Let's give a shameless plug to your doctor's office. Let everybody know what's going on, how they can, especially those that are in the Carroll County area, how they can come to you for great eye care. And if I'm not mistaken, you're running a special right now that all conservatives get free eye care through 2020. If I'm not mistaken, I may have read that wrong, and if I did, please correct me.
Two things. One, I did not ask for this shameless plug, but the second part, no. Now
right, we want the shameless plug. Let's do that. But absolutely, it's not free.
Tillman Eye Center, 806 Dixie Street. We've been, I started when I was 5 years old, so we've been there 30 years. We have 3 specialists that come in and help us do specialized surgery. So we do everything from making the glasses. We have our own lab, and it's fun. We have great patients, and it's fun talking.
Right there
and I
on
talk
Dixie
politics
Street.
And religion. So,
yep. There you go. Right there on Dixie Street, across from beautiful hospital there, Tanner Medical Center.
Wait a minute, Donna. I am a former patient, and I guess I would be considered a current patient of Dr. Rick Tillman. Yeah. A year or so ago, I was out on a tractor, and I'll make this story quick, ladies and gentlemen. I was out working on a tractor, and I was cutting whatever, and I had a tree branch that came back and slapped me in the face, right in the eye. And I didn't think much about it. It hurt like hell, but I just kept going. Well, throughout the day, it appears at some point that I had horse poop or probably some kind of poop on my hands, and I was rubbing my eye. So I get that in there now, and it really became a mess. And so 2 or 3 days later, it's like really bad. So I decide I got to go see Dr. Rick Tillman. So
it wasn't really bad. Your eye looked like a blown-up basketball.
It was terrible. So I'm wearing sunglasses, first of all, to because it hurt like hell, but also it was really bad looking. We're sitting in the waiting area. Everything's cool. We go into the doctor's room, one of these, what do you call them, Rick, where you go into the room? Exam room. All right. Rick walks in. Dr. Rick Tillman walks in. I take off my glasses, and he goes, whoa.
Whoa. He jumps backwards. That's how bad it looks.
That's how bad there's nothing that makes you feel better, Dr. Rick, than when your doctor looks at you and goes,
think I was saying, whoa, like, whoa.
What'd you say?
I was doing whoa, like, hey, whoa, Republican.
No, you were doing
I don't
like
ever
is an
say
alien
oops
creature
or-
going to climb out of your eyeball.
It's too funny. As in, whoa, Nelly.
But you got me
Yeah,
squared
whoa,
away.
yeah.
You got me squared away, and I'm all better now.
No, I'm
And
kidding.
so, ladies and gentlemen, if you need anything that has to do with eyes, glasses, we really encourage you to go see Dr. Rick Tillman.
All kidding aside,
Well,
though, Rick.
I did not expect, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, really, it was pretty damn funny, though. I got to say.
Whoa.
I'm just a passionate American who get the Trump. If Congress can't help them, Trump Congress needs to just go home.
Yeah.
Because Trump's doing great stuff. The media up and with the regular media, whatever you want to call them, the fake media, y'all are real media. They're socialists. So I was just saying, and I don't know why, because socialists, when they get what they want, the media is told what to. Oh, wait a minute, they're already told what to do. So forget that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They don't realize what's going on in Venezuela could very well happen here. Let me ask you something. Is there
We are starting a caravan next week. We're a caravan heading to Venezuela.
There you go.
Feliz Navidad, everyone.
Is there something we can do seriously, though, about early voting, cutting it back? Or I'll be honest with you, I think we need to raise the voting age back up to 21 or reinstate the draft. Let's get these kids that are snowflakes, that don't know what life is really like, to either harden their backsides, let them see what it's like to go in the military, not necessarily fight, but like Israel does, a couple of years of national service, or raise the voting age back up because it's 18 because of the vote. I mean, because of the draft.
Well, this will piss off a lot of people, but I don't think you should be able to vote if you're on the public dole.
Well, I agree with that too. Or I really think you ought to take a dope test, a drug test.
Go ahead. Well, I'm really going to mess with some people's minds. When I went to college, no professor told me what their political beliefs were. They taught the course. And I'm not saying every professor is like this, but one of the main problems we have in America today is professors. I had one brag to me about changing the beliefs of one student. They need to teach the subject and shut up about their political beliefs. If they want to ask them things when they're out of class, fine, but quit. That is one of the most dangerous things in America today. And again, I'm not saying all professors, but professors that will try to take that malleable brain of the student, but also the parents that don't teach them the foundation that when they go to a college, and make sure what college you pick, whether it be even a Christian college, you got to watch out about that now. But and West Georgia has West Georgia University, some great professors. But the professors that talk about their political beliefs in class and really make fun of the kids that don't believe the way they do is appalling.
Yeah,
so I'll get
really
feedback from that probably.
Well, Rick Tillman,
But I don't
Dr.
care.
Rick,
I'm old enough. I don't care.
absolutely, Dr. Rick Tillman. Again, he's chairman of the Carroll County Republican Party. And Rick, you went to Disney World now that Brian Kemp has been made governor, more or less, even though Stacey Abrams hasn't conceded.
There's illuminations. There's something they're going to quit here. It's the ending of the show at the end of the Epcot at night. And I cried through the whole thing. I cried everything. Either when Mater, the little speed racer guy, didn't say bye to Mater on the Cars movie. But so the kids who are now grown up. Also, I got to do a plug. My oldest daughter, is with child, a boy. I have got pictures of the good presidents and the bad presidents made for him when he's born in April. So, but we're all here. They wanted to see that before they quit doing that show.
Congratulations, Grandpa to be as well. Rick Tillman, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And coming up next, we'll be talking the latest on the Clinton Foundation with Charles Ortel. It's all coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio, and our very special guest this half hour is the guy who has been on the cutting edge of the investigation into the Clinton Foundation and foretold the demise of GE over a decade ago, and that would be one Charles Ortel, our good friend. You can find him at charlesortel.com, and along with a great young filmmaker named Jason Goodman, he does a show on YouTube every Sunday called Sunday with Charles. And you can find all that information at crowdsourcethetruth.org. Charles Ortel, welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
And I'm Don NEUEN.
Thank you very much, Charles, for the warm welcome. It's a great pleasure to be here with you people. Really bigly, huge, magnanimous, big. Thank you very much.
I don't know if we want to be associated with you, Charles, because everybody who associates with you goes out of business. I mean, you said GE was going to go out of business
only
years
if Charles
ago.
wants them to go out of business.
Well, that's true. And then we
or
talked
prognosticates that they will. And so far to date, he has not prognosticated that we will go out of business.
No, but he is 2 for 2 because GE notwithstanding, Charles calls me almost every night to find out what I'm making for dinner because he knows even though I'm Italian, I can't cook worth the diddly squat. So what I did was I've gotten Blue Apron. And I've had Blue Apron now for a couple of years. So then Blue Apron goes public at like $10 or $11 a share, and now it's going under. It's like $1 a share. So
yeah, maybe the price will go down, and we'll get it for a better deal.
And then Charles says, "Well, as I walk around Lower Manhattan, I see these big boxes of Blue Apron in front of all these people's doors. I'm thinking homeless people are probably stealing them.
They're decoys for homeless people."
I don't know.
Their houses.
Yeah, really.
They're houses for homeless people. Good point, Charles. Hey, let me ask you a couple of quick questions. You've been in the news last week. As a matter of fact, I was reading through an article that I don't even remember where I saw the article, and all of a sudden your name pops up. And the kind of the problem with that is that it's popping up with regard to Robert Mueller and his investigation, along with Julian Assange, and along with Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi, and who are acquaintances of yours, at least Corsi and I think Stone, definitely Corsi. But what's going on with all this? Why did your name pop up in this article? What is going on with Jerome Corsi, who is a former guest of ours on Cowboy Logic Radio? You know, from what it sounds like, he's stressing that he's going to be indicted and might do time in prison. Can you kind of unpack all this for everybody?
Yeah, so it's my position that let's start with Jerry Corsi. I have known Jerry for over 10 years, but in late 14, early 15, he had trouble understanding what was going on with the Clinton Foundation, and he was interested in it. He asked me to take a look at it. So I did. And I think we know what's happened ever since then. A lot of time and energy was spent on that. Jerry and I had a brief falling out when he wanted to do that book called Partners in Crime, which was ultimately called Partners in Crime, with me. And he said we do it with an agent and a real publisher. And instead he went off and did it with Joseph Farah, who owns WorldNet Daily. And, negotiations to do that book with Farah just fell completely apart. And I didn't talk to Jerry much until the book came out in, I think, August of 2016. So along the way, Jerry migrated, I don't know, at that time or shortly after that time, he migrated over to Alex Jones, InfoWars, and he began to do more and more work with Roger Stone. And so 2016 was obviously the primary season, then the general election. There was a lot going on. And while I had been not concentrating only with Jerry, but primarily doing a lot of work with him, I expanded the network of people, journalists I was talking to around the world. And I got really, really busy during the course of 2016, telling everybody that, while I appreciated the work I was doing would not help the Clintons politically. My goal is not a political one. My goal is to expose the biggest charity fraud ever attempted and still ongoing in the world, expose its full contours, trigger investigations into all the wrongdoing, hold those people accountable for their wrongdoing, and also ultimately through the process to help reform and bring the charity regulation process into the 21st century where it belongs. That's been my goal all along. Now, in the course of my own work, I ran into lots of people. One of the people I ran into Roger Stone. Various people introduced me to him. He's really a political guy. I ran into, I began to talk again to Jerry closer to the end of the election period than, around the time of his book. I was actually rather upset at the way that happened, though Jerry was very kind to me in the book, and, he gave me enormous credit for his work. And that book does, it only has the benefit of my research through about December 2015, and I've been working 24/7 on it ever since really February of 2015. So there's a lot more to tell than is in the book, but it's a good book. And it's my contention, and I'll maybe break some news in the air, that Robert Mueller and James Comey and Rod Rosenstein are doing their level best with this investigation, the special counsel thing, to obstruct a real investigation into what Jerry Corsi found in his book about the Clinton Foundation and the various people who were affected by it, the charity frauds, the public corruption, the fact that the Clinton Foundation has been used really as a piggy bank or a candy store. And specifically, it's the Clinton Global Initiative pieces and the Clinton Health Access Initiative pieces that have been, I think, the primary conduits where people who wanted to get on the right side of Hillary Clinton and the Clintons would make relatively modest donations or claim they would, and then that money would never be accounted for properly. And so you have a loosely controlled foundation, nobody's watching the books, you can launder a lot of money and you can disguise bribes as donations. So it's my contention that Mueller, Comey, and Rosenstein were all actually, in one way or another, involved with the first investigation, the first known investigation into the Clinton Foundation from 2001 to 2005. You can see that if you punch into Google William J. Clinton Foundation and FBI Vault, you'll see 3 data dumps. And you'll see that Mueller was personally briefed on it, and Comey was leading the investigation. What you won't see in there is that Rosenstein was at the Justice Department, then tasked with deciding which frauds get prosecuted. So these 3 gentlemen missed, in quotes, an obvious fraud. Yeah. And then that fraud metastasized while Mueller was head of the FBI. I mean, how come Robert Mueller's team didn't notice this massive fraud? Or worse, did they notice it and just say, we'll let it happen? And so I think Mueller, and there's no question in my mind, I'm not a lawyer, but just as somebody I think understands logic and English, Robert Mueller, Rod Rosenstein, James Comey, massive conflicts of interest, and the way in which the special counsel decision was reached makes little sense to me. An investigation into suspected Russian collusion had been opened by the FBI. Some say as early as May of 2016. Under when Comey was head of the FBI. Why did you need to appoint a special counsel? You had an ongoing investigation. Why did Mueller pack the investigation with people that our mutual friend Sidney Powell, Weissman, is a despicable human being? Why does he have any role in anything? Does he even have a law license based on his past record? He's leading the charge. It's packed with Democrats and Clinton supporters. And it just seems to me, on the face of it, to be an illegitimate investigation. So, nonetheless, I don't know exactly what they're looking at. All this stuff is supposed to be secret in any case. But my suspicion is that because Roger and Jerry were working together and they had known each other, and I think Jerry may have had a role in the book that Roger did, about Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broderick and the other women who were persecuted by Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton in an age where the Me Too movement didn't exist. So I believe that Jerry Corsi may have been asked to testify. and he may have made the mistake of agreeing to ground rules that put him in a position where he was subjected to hours and hours and hours. He's a 72-year-old gentleman of testimony. And, it's really interesting to me, the double standard here. Here you have, an illegitimate, in my mind, investigation ongoing, multi-million dollars spent on the question of whether Russians or agents of the Russian government may have interfered in the 2016 election. When staring you flat in the face is the fact that the Democratic Party colluded with the Clinton campaign to give Hillary Clinton the nomination. They probably were involved, people behind the Clintons, disrupting and playing around with the Republicans, encouraging Donald Trump to be the nominee, thinking that they would beat him handily. They lose, and then they set about this ongoing project to overturn the will of the people in the 2016 presidential election. That's an internal affair. They may have been doing that in cooperation with foreign governments who were very concerned about what might happen under a Donald Trump presidency. And those foreign governments might have been the government of the UK, Israel, which are friends and allies. That, to me, is an area that cries out for investigation. And to my knowledge, there's nothing going on in that area. Instead, we're just persecuting Donald Trump or attempting to persecute him. And we're covering up. The American public is allowing Washington, D.C. to cover up the largest unprosecuted fraud in history. Why? Because it doesn't just affect and expose Obama and Clinton, it also exposes the Bush family, who were involved with the Clinton initiatives.
Along with a major pant load of high-profile donors. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with the great Charles Ortel. Please follow his work at charlesortel.com. Charles, I have two very simple questions for you.
Sure.
You can answer them with a brief answer. You can answer them with an elongated answer. You can answer them with, I'm not going to answer that. Okay? First question, and I'll hit them with you back to back. Okay? The first question, has anybody from the Mueller team contacted you? That's the first question.
No.
Second question, have you received, over the course of your work regarding the Clinton Foundation, any threats at all?
None.
Wow. I find that this is unbelievable because they're sitting here saying they're going to go after Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone, to name a few, and obviously Julian Assange, because Mueller is targeting them because of the situation with the Clinton Foundation. Like you just said, and what a great answer you gave before, Charles, that it's like as plain as the nose on your face. They should be going after these people for the Clinton Foundation, not Jerome Corsi and Roger Stone for the work they're doing investigating the Clinton Foundation, just because they worked with Donald Trump. The real big story here to me is the super, super deep state and how they want to ruin anybody who wants to try to buck the system. And that really is the bottom line.
Well, you're seeing it. I know this is not going to seem like it's immediately relevant, but you're seeing that in the news that's recently come out, where the CIA is supposedly claiming that Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia was behind the killing of that Saudi journalist in Turkey. And, there are big stakes here for the deep state. The deep state was apparently quite interested in cozying up to Iran. And Trump has thrown that deal out the window. The deep state and the people around the deep state are in and outside this country are extremely nervous that the truth will fall out about how many bribes were paid by Iran to which people to get that Iran deal across the line. So there are big monetary stakes at play here. And, I just think the precedent set by this Mueller thing is so outrageous. You're kind to mention our shows. We've done 119 shows, quite a few of them. Average length is 2 hours. They get pretty good viewership, and thanks to the viewers for that. And we've gone into this in excruciating detail, examining the statute, explaining that under the terms of the statute, this appears to be an illegitimate investigation. Mueller never has disclosed his conflicts. Rosenstein hasn't disclosed his conflicts. Comey was a leaker. That's how, is a known leaker. He should be prosecuted for that. The Justice Department still has not been appropriately cleaned out. That said, I'm very happy to see Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker in there I actually reached out to him when he was at that foundation, and I forget. I have evidence that I reached out to him. I don't remember whether we spoke or didn't speak, but I think I left him a voicemail. And he's a guy who, by his public comments, understands the seriousness of these charity frauds. And so, I'm hopeful that the American public is not going to take this lying down. We saw a Republican congressman, Steve Stockman, former congressman. He was just sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for his role in a $1 million charity fraud. Corinne Brown is in 5 years in prison for $800,000. This is $3 billion declared, and I think $100 billion when you count the close contours of the affiliates. If you want to go more broadly, you can get into the trillions of dollars if you start counting false government spending. And the time has come for ordinary Americans to stand up and say, Bill and Hillary Clinton, need to be brought to justice for going from bankruptcy. They were fundamentally bankrupt, financially. They're morally bankrupt, but they're financially bankrupt when he was president. They went from that to being worth who knows how much money, all through Bill's charitable work. I mean, what's more? That's you're not allowed to make money off of charity. Strictly forbidden.
Yeah, right. We're talking with Charles Ortel. You can find him at charlesortel.com. He's an investment banker and asset manager. He foretold the demise of GE, Charles, like 13 years ago? Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, that was by accident. It was in my written recommendation was August 31st, 2007, when GE stock was 40. And, it's the same. GE is back in the frame again. I did an article in American Thinker in February this year suggesting that a reckoning was at hand again for GE when the stock was, much higher than it is now. But the real dangers in GE include the fact that their disclosures are opaque. I mean, you can't really figure out exactly what's going on.
It's kind of like the Clinton Foundation. I mean, really, the same thing.
I picked both projects for a reason. They're both accounting frauds.
Yeah,
and
that really is the bottom line. Go ahead.
One is a for-profit accounting fraud, and the other is a not-for-profit accounting fraud, and they're both multinational organizations that are out of control. And as the largest market in the world, the United States should stand up and create a new regime for managing multinational for-profit and not-for-profit firms, forcing them to show what their results are inside the United States and then what the results are outside the United States, clearly and objectively and neatly, so that any partner that wants to get involved with these types of firms can understand the true capacity of the parent company to guarantee international activities. We don't have such disclosures. It's not required yet. We need to bring disclosures into the 21st century.
Wouldn't have happened if the One World Order folks took over and Hillary Clinton were elected president, then we wouldn't know any of this. Let me just plug your crowdsourcethetruth.org and Sunday with Charles that you do with the great filmmaker Jason Goodman. And that's on YouTube. And like you say, it's a few hours long and you get tens of thousands of views because of the information that you provide. And by the way, you've seen Charles Ortel, folks, on just about all the major news channels. And you can read his stuff in the past in LifeZet, WorldNet Daily, RT, Sunday Times, The London, Washington Times, American Thinker, as he just said, The Daily Caller. And you were also an imposter on To Tell the Truth. And actually, they thought you were the real guy, which I think is pretty funny. We know you're the real guy right now. And again, folks, find his stuff at charlesortel.com. Don had another question.
Charles, where is the stock for GE? Do either one of you guys have any idea?
$8 or $9.
No, it's $8. But the more alarming thing is the speed with which the stock has gone into free fall, particularly as the new CEO, Mr. Culp, Larry Culp, C-U-L-P, was installed, given a chance to explain after a chance to travel around the GE facilities. He gave a presentation on October 30th about GE's great future, and the analysts were stunned, and immediately the stock has gone into free fall. But more concerning is the fact that the prices of the bonds, and GE has over $100 million of debt, the prices of the bonds, the interest rates that GE has to pay on refinancing, the question of can they refinance, has put them back in the place they were in March of 2009, when I actually had a story published about me in the New York Times, of all places, where I said GE is in trouble, March 6, 2009. You can look it up. And the columnist disagreed with me. He said GE would finally come out of it. And I have, ever since then, even though the stock price went up, they never fixed their structural problem. They have too much debt. They don't explain the extent of their liabilities. They're too muddled up, too many middle-level managers, too many overpaid managers, and it's just not. It's a jumble. It's a debt jumble.
It sounds like a corporation that's being run
by the U.S. government.
By the U.S. government. Charles, for all the listeners, because I know we're all concerned at this point, and your great work and your insight on this is going to be able to help answer this. For all of those of us that have GE light bulbs or any GE appliances in our house, what do you think we ought to do right now?
I'm certainly the last. I could barely screw in a light bulb, but what I would say to you is that one thing I did learn the hard way is you need to check your refrigerators and see how old they are. I had a refrigerator once that was, and the guy said, "Well, how old's your refrigerator?" I said, "How am I supposed to know?" Well, you just open it up and.
Well, you had one that they brought ice every day, right?
Oh yeah, Santa Claus lives with me as well. That's called a hedge. But anyway, but no, you shouldn't have a refrigerator, I'm told, that's older than 10 years. And so that would be my only piece of advice. Check and see whether your GE refrigerator is older than 10 years. If it is, go get yourself a new one.
Cars
do you think that there's going to be, when they finally hit rock bottom, do you think that they're going to have some kind of a bailout and save GE, or do you think they're done?
I was against the bailouts. I think I do not buy the argument that at this stage that failing to bail out GE would lead to a global meltdown. I think GE only has $115 billion of debt. That's a lot of debt, but it's on the global scale it's peanuts. And the managers, what should happen in this go around is there needs to be an evaluation of exactly how positive was Jack Welch's role, let's say from 95. He started in 81. 95 forward as he allowed GE Capital to nearly blow the global system up. How culpable is he? How much money should the management team at GE and the people who are no longer at GE have to put back in to GE out of the money they took out? I think this is an issue. I'm very much a conservative economic person. But this is an issue that could unite the right and the left. I think it's absolutely wrong for laborers, working people who put in backbreaking hours to think that they're going to get a pension out of GE and then GE to say, rather than paying you a pension, we'll give these miscreant managers gigantic bonuses and make these stupid acquisitions instead of funding the pension plan, which remains unfunded. That to me is unconscionable. And that GE could have all these former plants that are perhaps environmental damage and not have money set aside to pay for those damages. That's horrible stuff because it's bad practices and it needs to be exposed and punished, and the people responsible need to pay for it. Otherwise, you're just adding fuel on the fire to the mad dash to the left, led by the economically illiterate Bernie Sanders and his young cohort, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Ocasio-Cortez.
Is she your representative? I was just going to ask you, is she your representative?
No, he's not in Queens.
No.
80,000 people voted for her. 80,000 people.
Man, look, I'll tell you what, I'm embarrassed.
There's
for
no
Queens.
help for
what about 4 million voting for that Gillum guy in Florida?
I know. Well, I'm sure. I wonder how many voted for Stacey Abrams here in Georgia too. Hey, real quick, we only have a minute or so left. With the Clinton Foundation, 17 million last we spoke disappeared from the Clinton Foundation. Is that number going up? And just give us an update as to where your findings are on that thing now.
Yeah. So what I've been doing with Jason and others is sort of a ragtag bunch of us who care deeply about charities has gone around to push government investigators to actually investigate this. And I think it's possible that we've been successful in getting investigations open beyond those that are publicly disclosed. So there's one. There is an FBI investigation. There is an IRS investigation. The status of those we don't know, but multiple governments are watching and doing more than watching. And the Clinton Foundation has just filed a joke of an audit. It's a disgrace this firm Cohen Resnick just issued an audit on November 5th, 2018 that does not comply with regulations, and therefore they are part, I believe, of a conspiracy involving Pricewaterhouse, Cohen Resnick, the accounting firm BKD, the Clinton Foundation, and their donors to continue to operate this as a business development, public corruption, corrupt racketeering criminal enterprise to allow the trafficking of political influence by means of donations.
Absolutely. It's a total slush fund. And everybody, you can follow Charles's work and the latest that he's doing with the Clinton Foundation, everything else, again, at charlesortel.com. And with Jason Goodman, a young filmmaker, go to crowdsourcethetruth.org. And if you go to YouTube, Sunday with Charles, you can see Charles's latest updates all over the place there. That really is the best, Charles, because it is kind of funny to watch what you do with that and then all the tens of thousands of followers that you do have. Charles Ortel, as usual, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you.
And that just about wraps it up, folks. One thing I do want to say is have a very blessed and very happy Thanksgiving from all of us here at Cowboy Logic Radio. For Don NEUEN, I'm Donna
from the
Fiducia.
Caravan coming up from Central America, ladies and gentlemen, Feliz Navidad, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week.
Out on the web at cowboylogic.us.